If you clicked on this video, I'm going to assume that you've either watched or at least heard about Netflix's Adolescence and what that show is about. And I am an educator. I work with young kids, so I want to talk about why this show is not only important, but necessary. And I really want to dive into, I really want to dive into why I think that this is something that, oh my gosh, every parent should see, but not just every parent, you know. I think young kids should watch this too. Girls, boys, I think young people need to watch shows like this and understand and recognize. They should be able to look at a room and be like, oh yeah, I actually know someone like this. So I think it's really important that kids recognize stuff, because when you are able to kind of and obviously these types of situations come in all different forms, but it is important to talk about this. I'm seeing a lot of discourse online, even not talking about how excellent the show is shot. It's one takes. You already know. But when I was watching the show, I was primarily excited to see, because I kept hearing about how great the acting of this young kid was, and I was excited to see that. I wasn't really necessarily looking to learn about something like this, but when I finished it and I saw what the series was entirely about, I was like, oh, thank God somebody noticed. And thank God it was a man, because I truly feel like in these types of situations, a man should talk about this. A man should create something like this. They saw something happening with young boys and they said, let's talk about this. Let's make art about this. Let's have a conversation. Because women have been having this conversation. This is not a gender wars video, please. If you're about to get these comments, well, women do this too, but what? That is not what this video is for. Please find another place to do it. But that's kind of that's kind of an issue, because what this show really presented and brought to the forefront is how this type of stuff affects young kids. And the kid in the show is supposedly 13. I have met kids as young as 7 and 8 years old who speak about women in a way where I'm just like, there's no way they were born with these thoughts. Someone taught them this. Either they're hearing it at home from their own parents, brothers, whatever the heck, or they're learning it through the internet. That's the only way that you can be saying these things at 7 and 8 years old. That's the only way. And they see nothing wrong with it. I remember having a conversation, I don't want to get into specifics, but kids are often, especially boys, are often finding themselves superior to girls. And this is not something that is easy to combat. This is not something that can just be explained away. I can sit there and explain why, no, girls can also be strong, and girls can also be smart, and often are very smart. So when I'm sitting with a little boy who's telling me how women are no good and no better than them, it really worries me. I remember making a video about this. This is the root of everything. I remember making a video about this not too long ago on my own TikTok page. And as you know, my TikTok is a very big platform. So I shared this on TikTok about this conversation I had with this little boy about how he was speaking and saying these things about women. So many of the comments was from other boys telling me how, who cares? He's a kid. Who cares? Why are we having this conversation? Why are we talking about this? He's a kid. I didn't say anything negative about the kid. Let's keep that in mind. I'm purely addressing the things that he said. Because at the end of the day, this is a kid. However, this is not something that, he'll grow out of it. He likes Star Wars, he'll grow out of it. What? This is not that. This is a belief. He believes that when he enters a room, this kid believes that when he enters a room, the smartest person, if he's the only boy, and you could be in a room with 50 girls, the smartest person in that room is him. If there is a bunch of doctors, CEOs, women, he is going to look for a man, because he believes men are smarter and stronger and more capable. That's just his belief. Even if that is true, what if that is true? You walk into a room and that is the smartest person. I need him to unlearn that. And the reason, and I can't impose myself. I don't live in the home. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what he sees on his phone. But the problem with that is when he grows older, that is a belief I couldn't just say he was wrong and just that would be it. Like, no, that's not it. You can say the sky is blue and you can say the sky is pink. And, I can't just say, no, that's not true. Look, the sky's blue. It's not like that. So for everyone, all the comments that I got saying, who cares, he's just a kid. That's a belief that he's going to grow up having, okay? It's possible that, he grows up and he reads books, talks to more women, whatever the case, understands that is not true and understands that, because that's not how the real world is. Or he can keep thinking that and have more ideas built onto that. And it doesn't mean that he's going to be awful or violent or anything like that. It is just going to affect how he treats people. It is going to affect what he believes about life to be true. It is going to affect how he converses with people even. It's going to affect a lot of things. And I don't think that is something that I should just let stand necessarily. I cannot change his mind. I can only educate and say, hey, that's not always true, blah, blah, blah. And that is not the worst case that I've seen. When you start getting to the middle school and high school level, you're talking 11, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds by the time like freshman and sophomore year. By the time you're in those ages, the things that you hear, a lot of it is misinformation. A lot of it is just not knowing. I've had men say things about pregnant women that is so wrong. It sounds like it's from like an episode of SpongeBob. It's so wrong. And this is what they believe. And all the women, all the girls have to just be like, it truly, a man can say what I've noticed in classrooms is that when I was in the high school level, what I noticed is that a boy could say the dumbest thing. All the girls can break their necks to look at him because that was just the dumbest thing he just said about women or towards women or whatever. And although all the women can correct you on what it is, that kid will still go on believing that he is correct. Unless another boy or a group of boys steps up, because I've seen that happen as well. I've seen boys correct each other, and I see how quickly and effective that is. I see it. Even if they're like, man, it's there. They're like, shoot, like, I just acted like an idiot just now. And where does that come from? Where does the belief that like women cannot correct me, women cannot be right? Where does that come from? I ask you. Because it's not every boy, of course not. But when it happens, it is so like, it's so shocking. And maybe it shouldn't be anymore because wow. But I think what the show was trying to do was saying that like, especially at that age, 13, it is so difficult to reach kids at that age when they don't have a foundation of learning things like who women are, what they're capable of, having friendships and relationships with women that are healthy, having friendships and relationships with men that are healthy. It is all so important. So I really, really do not like hearing in my comment sections, they're literally 5, who cares? Why are we talking about this? This is so dumb, they're just a kid. Just kid become just adults, in the words of Medea, and then they go to just jail. And I'm not saying it's getting that drastic, but I'm just bringing up this issue because it is an issue. And I keep seeing it. And it can feel like you're fighting, a battle because it really affects empathy. It affects like what men choose to say and do. And a lot of the time, men don't realize, kids especially, I don't know, they don't realize that what they've said is just really, really hurtful and dumb. And all the women know it. And it's still like not clicking. I've seen this time and time again. And again, I really want to make sure that this point is emphasized. It is not every guy, it is not every kid to look at a kid and assume that they're going to be some sort of like monster is actually wild. I'm only speaking on my experiences working in the classroom, working with kids, working with like even my own family. I do think it's very important that we pay attention to the young men in our lives, because it is very easy for them to get swept into Andrew Andrew Tate rhetoric, or whatever the heck red pilling is. Men seem to really enjoy certain things about women, but not women themselves. This is evident in when a boy has a really severe and angry reaction to being feminized in any way or being associated with something girly, like the color pink. I had a kid react so strongly to being given a pair of like pink scissors, really strongly. Actually, that's not true. I think I gave him, yes, the only colors I had was yellow and green. Very non-gendered colors. And I remember giving him the yellow and giving the girls green. Not on purpose. It was just like luck of the draw. He was so upset. This is just another kid. He was so upset. He said, yellow's for girls. And I'm like, when? Nobody told me. When was yellow for girls? You're talking sunflowers. You're talking the sun. You're talking honey. You're talking yellow school buses. Where do you see yellow is for girls? The way he was so upset that he couldn't like even use the scissors. I can't imagine had I tried to give him a pink pair of scissors, what would happen there? Erasers are pink. This is crazy. But that keeps going. It doesn't just go away when you don't address it. That keeps going. When you get to a later stage in life, you find yourselves doing things for the boys and doing things for approval. And I can understand that as like teens and growing up and all these things. Because, girls, they have their insecurities and their cliques and their moments. And that is true. For boys, it's such a unique thing to watch. If you have young boys in your family, I think it's so important to pay attention to what they say. I started doing that as soon as my younger cousins, I had 2 younger cousins that were boys. I paid attention to what they said. And let me tell you, I would clock them all the time. And it takes energy and it takes effort. You have to care about these kids. You have to care about them in order to do stuff like this, in order to pull them to the side like I was and saying, that was a crazy thing that you said. Like, let's talk about it. And it wasn't just things towards women. It was things like very violent things sometimes. Things that involved like just like violent things that I don't feel comfortable actually talking about. But whenever I would hear those things and they would be like, oh, it was just jokes. They knew how much I cared. And it wasn't so much like, oh, I need to be quiet around Joe because Joe is gonna like have a conversation with me if I start talking in this way that I usually talk. That's fine. Just know that conversation, I'm fine with that actually. That conversation, they know that around me, you can't be talking like that. You can't be talking about women like that. You can't be talking about your girlfriends like that. You can't be talking about your guy friends like that. Like, oh, he's a, because he won't. They know not to speak that way around me. They know better. And the only reason they do is because I spoke to them. A person who is older than them, a person who was able, although a woman, I pray to God, I all the time that they would have a really positive male figure in their lives, because honestly, there wasn't a whole lot of those to go around. It doesn't matter. I'm there. I'm going to talk to them because I love them and I care about them. And I think that if I want them one day to have successful friendships and relationships, then they should know that a woman cares, and this is what it is. I would often hear from them and from other boys like, oh my God, girls cheat all the time. And that's why I would cheat, because girls always cheat and I don't want to get cheated on first. Stupid things like that. Real conversations. And I just remember sitting them down and talking to these kids and being like, why do you think, and this wasn't always, you have to pick your battles truly, but I paid attention. I would ask questions and say things like, why do you think that? I don't know. It's always, I don't know. Why do you think like the girl that you're with is going to cheat on you? Like, or any girl. Why do you think that? I've never cheated on anyone. None of my friends have ever cheated on any of their relationships. We're girls. Y'all are different. I don't know what girls you've met. And I usually try to bring them back to your world is so small. And if you feel that this is your experience with women or what you've seen online, you need to understand how big the world is, and you understand what all different types of people there are. And I'm one of them. And I'm contradicting these claims that you have against women all the time. And it's really, it's a lot of work. It is so much work, actually. It's not easy. And I found myself having conversations with like my coworkers that were male all the time. And I'm like, where are y'all getting this stuff? Some of it was just so blatantly wrong. I don't think we talk enough about how just misinformed a lot of men are. And that's okay. Like, as long as you're willing to learn. And a lot of the times, especially when they were older and they were men, like 30s, 40s, and I was talking to male coworkers, they were open to listening. Because here was this young woman talking to them, teaching them something. And they're shocked. And they're like, oh, I didn't realize that. It wasn't always about like, I remember once talking to a coworker of mine about, I told him to stop catcalling. Because I told him girls don't really like that. He's like, really? I feel like girls do like that. I thought they do like that. And I'm like, no. And he had a teenage daughter. And I'm like, do you think your teenage daughter would like that? And he's like, no, I don't think she would like that. And I'm like, yeah, that's all it takes. Yeah, most women are not huge fans of that. And he's like, okay, well, why is that? Oh, well, you kind of like whistle and do all these things. It's kind of similar to what you would do for a dog. Ooh, things are clicking. It takes time to, if you care, to break things down and explain things, because we are living on this world with a lot of people, and it is a lot to like, it's not necessarily our jobs. I understand that, to teach men how to treat women or how to understand or how to like empathize, because that's a whole nother issue. But like, I work with kids and it is my job to educate them. It's not my job to indoctrinate. It's not my job to convince them that they're wrong or to make them feel bad about being men or being boys. That's not my job, and that's not what I do. I educate. So if you're telling me something that's so blatantly wrong, I need to inform you of what is actually the truth or what is actually factual. Yellow is not a girl's color. And yes, you can use the yellow scissors. You'll be fine. Yeah, it starts there. It starts very young. And I think what the show Adolescence really did well was at the end there, they were showing how men, or some of the men, were kind of on the dad's side or on the kid's side. And I think that was really an important detail to add, because it was such a small detail at the end. But it was just to like really show like a little girl is dead. And the empathy is out the window. A little girl is dead. Because a little boy couldn't handle rejection. Not only could he not handle rejection, and like that is a whole nother lesson. Not only could he not handle rejection, but he asked her out when he felt she was weakest. So there's a lot there. And I think we're all better than that. I think we're all better than what happened in that show and what boys, maybe interact with. You'd be surprised how many kids are consuming content that their older brothers are consuming, or that they're seeing on websites where they can talk to people, or they're seeing on YouTube. Oh my God, YouTube. You'd be surprised what they're listening to. You'd be surprised because, a lot of these kids have mothers and sisters, and that doesn't guarantee that they understand how to be empathetic or care about the women in their lives. And that can just lead to a much harder realization down the road, or God forbid, something like adolescence, I can't not do my job. I can't not do what I'm supposed to do, which is to educate. And when I have little kids who I'm struggling to have them empathize with, you know, the girls in the room. I don't need them to cater. I don't need them to like fall at their feet. That is not what I'm talking about. These are your classmates. But I think it's really important to notice these things at a young age and to pay attention to what kids are saying. It is hard. We are all busy. Pay attention to what your kids are saying. Pay attention to what the boys are saying. Pay attention to what your friends are saying. Oh my gosh. And as teachers who have like, I don't know, 50, 60 kids a day, maybe more, it's hard to catch them all. It's hard to like figure these things out, as you saw in the Adolescence episode. Schools, oh my gosh, schools are difficult. It's so hard to find, you know, good, compassionate teachers when, one, they're not getting paid. They're not getting paid well. Two, the children, if the boys don't respect the female teachers, it is chaos. It is chaos. It is hell. I can't express this enough. It is important to teach respect to girls, to boys, to your elders, whatever the fart. But when I was seeing that school episode, even though I'm in the US and that show takes place in England, I fear that like that is quite accurate, and it is so important to break that down. So there's a whole lot more to say, and I hope that this isn't taken in a really negative light, because I do feel that there have been beautiful experiences where I've seen men step up, or I've seen young boys step up with each other and work with each other, and that has been amazing, and there's plenty of those. I do think that this show spreads a light on a real issue, and if you have a problem with the issue, then you need to talk to your boys about it, you know? There's no reason to be screaming at or anyone else who brings up the issue, you know? If you're tired of hearing it, let's work. Let's put our hands in and let's work. Let's figure this out. Let's listen. Okay. That's everything for now. Bye.